Hi, everyone. Today we got an update. Not an update. It's distinguished from that. Welcome to Becoming That One House podcast. Today, as you can probably see, we are missing one of our cohorts. It's snowy and he has an ever-growing family that needs his time more than we need his time.
Because the pillow's sticking out.
Pillow Josh. Hi, Pillow Josh. I am Jake, of course. Your intrepid host for this podcast. That is Pillow Josh.
PJ.
Ever present stand-in for Josh. And then that over there is El Capitan. It is this day of recording his birthday. So happy birthday, Ben.
Thank you.
How old are you?
21. 21.
Do you want us to count all the way up to it?
48. You're not joshing, are you? That's good.
I am not joshing.
I like that. Neither are we. None of us. We're collectively not joshing.
Anyway.
Old man jokes.
I don't know that we can do it as well as he can.
He's really good at it.
He's really good at it because it just seems like a normal part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, the update I was talking about, I did ask Paul why he's a Bears fan. Do you know why he's a Bears fan?
There's a long, winding story to that. Do you want to share?
I mean, I can, if you're okay with me sharing.
This is part
Paul's
of the
story.
opening.
Yeah. So Paul had a bully, and he figured out that this bully was a Bears fan. And when the bully went to beat him up, he said, "You wouldn't beat up a Bears fan." And he said, and the dude never bothered me again. So it pays to be a Bears fan. Not right now, maybe, but
This is your story?
that's what he told me. Oh, I have another funny story.
That's a better story than mine.
Because you just live in the area.
I inherited it. The disease.
It's okay, we all have generational trauma. We can joke. Both of our teams are out of anything right now.
All but two.
Anyway, I have another funny story. So my dad and I were working on the new studio on Saturday, and we were carrying like a TV and some speakers and stuff up from here, and my dad walks a fair bit faster than me because, you know, who doesn't? Steve, that one time he broke his muscle.
Calf, yeah. You heard it bad.
Yeah. As the story goes, Ben, not you, Ben, other Ben, broke it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story then?
Non-contact basketball.
He blamed Ben, though?
He did.
Wow.
He just pivoted and collapsed.
Sorry, Ben.
I'll take that as Ben juked him out of his muscles.
No, Steve juked Ben out of his
Oh.
muscles, and Steve juked Ben out of his own muscles.
He juked himself out of he juked his calf. His calf was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Steve, if you're watching, you're too old for that. And I know I actually do think you're watching because you asked me about what equipment we use on our podcast. So.
And we love you.
We do. We miss you.
We do.
Anyway, so my dad walks a fair bit faster than me. So he walks into the gym, and I come around the corner, and I see in there Jason and Lawson playing basketball. And I see Jason do one of the, because my dad has an armful of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I see Jason, hey, what's up? And my dad just
keeps it moving.
Well, he's like 73. He can't hear people.
Oh.
And he just keeps walking, and I think eventually he did realize. He just looked back and went like this. And I walked into the gym, and I didn't think about it at first. And I walked past Jason. I was like, "What's up, dude?" And I was like, "Oh, by the way, that's my dad. He's not just like stealing stuff."
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. As soon as he sees you, he's not going to ask questions. But yeah, seeing your dad by himself, I don't know. He might have questions.
I would. If I saw someone carrying like a guitar or something, and I didn't know who it was, Yeah, I would.
I saw Aaron's work van outside of the parsonage, and I didn't recognize it. And I was like, I had my head turned toward it while I was at the light, like totally turned toward it, hoping that I could resolve that in my head. And then I saw Aaron go to his van in the back, and I was like, okay, that makes sense.
You probably could have looked through the back of his hatch. It has a giant hole in it. Okay. I was giving
You've
crap
talked
about that.
before. Yeah.
He knows what I'm talking about, and I think he's listening to me. He better be. Anyway,
No.
random icebreaker.
Yep.
I had one.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was.
Wow.
It was funny too. That's why I didn't write it down.
that's too bad.
Yeah. How
I
do you
loved-
feel? What feelings do you have about our Super Bowl matchup?
I'm a little bit like ho-hum. I'm kind of like, doesn't really grab me either way. I think the Seahawks are going to win.
I would prefer the Seahawks.
I like Darnold's story, the quarterback of the Seahawks. I like it because it's he was written off.
Mm-hmm.
Too quickly.
I also like how it makes the Vikings look like idiots, especially if he wins the Super Bowl.
Yes, they gave up on him probably a little bit too quickly too.
And gave a shot to Jared's favorite person in the world,
JJ.
Mr. McCarthy himself. I do enjoy the meme. It's a picture of Thanos from the Marvel movies, and it just, you prayed so hard for the downfall of the Chiefs, and where did that lead you? Back to me, and it's just the Patriots logo. I laughed pretty hard.
I can't believe the Patriots in another Super Bowl. So there's that.
You didn't think it was going to happen again, did you?
I don't know. I'm tired of them.
Still, it's been
several years.
Yeah, I was going to say
It's not out of my system yet.
It's fair. It's fair. Anyway, just a quick introduction on what this episode is going to be. We didn't really have a sermon per se on Sunday. So what I would like for this is, if you are the first time, first time seeing this podcast, first time, checking out our church, seeing if you want to, give us a try here, come here, see what we're all about, and you're checking out our YouTube presence. I want this to be for you. I want it to paint an image, and even just for the people that exist here normally, I want us to have a clear picture and just more time to discuss what this vision for our church is that we maybe didn't have, or it's not really a discussion from the stage.
Right. And it's January, so it's a good time to reset.
Yeah.
It's good.
So the first question I wanted to pose, it's for each of us. So I'm just going to throw the question out there, but both of us can answer it. What does that one house mean to each of us?
Yep. It'd be similar and different, right? So
I think so.
For me, it was in the formative stages. It didn't have that vision yet. I was candidating in 2024, second half of the year, and Bill Johnson was the interim lead pastor, so he was helping with the transition, both Nate leaving and me staying on at least as the primary candidate, and just trying to help keep the church stable. And so he and I would meet because he was doing some mentoring, and I think it came out of us meeting together and just trying to figure out a vision, something that was concise and clear and compelling, for our church. And so we kind of played with ideas, like we played with the idea of home, and we talked about the pros and cons of that, and then we just kept coming back to that one place, that one house that people are just naturally attracted to, and that's where it started.
I remember the first conversation I actually had with him about it, where it was like, hey, what would it look like to put a card together that has like the location of the church on the back and has like a saying on the front? And I was like, well, what's the saying? And he's like, well, it was, what was it in its infancy? When you're ready to come home again or something.
I feel like the concept was there, just not the title.
I like that the concept, I think, is bore out of the story of the prodigal son, and the way that the father embraced him when he came back. I don't think that's exactly what that one house is.
I think there's
per
different
se.
aspects to it, you know, and we'll talk about that as we go. But I think that if you're asking where it was birthed out of conversations with Bill, myself, lots of prayer, just thinking about what is the vision going to be, something that people can rally around and gather around and just be excited about, and something that's easy to remember. You know, something that can be spoken, obviously lived out, but spoken to somebody.
Something that can be put on. We don't have it down here, but the coffee mug.
Yep.
Or
you have it on the card. I think you did a great job with that. Great job with that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to explain that one house, or is that?
Yeah. Go ahead and explain.
So that, in short, that one house is maybe that place where you were growing up, that place that you ran to. A lot of people have stories of it might have been their house that neighborhood kids ran toward or flocked toward, or that one house that you had that was a friend of yours, and it was just you were attracted because of the dynamics of that house, meaning like there was probably love, stability there. There might have been free food, you know, so that never hurts. You were served, you felt safe, you felt accepted, you felt valued. More specifically for our church, how that applies would be it's that place that we want people to be attracted to, no matter where they're coming from. So whether they're coming from a place of I don't know anything about Jesus, or they're coming from a place of I've been a Christian a long time, but I've experienced church hurt, or they're confused and they want a safe space to come to so that they, without being judged, are safe to consider who Jesus is and what he's done and figure out what they think about that, you know, and also to have their needs met, because it's both. It's like we want to meet you where you are, your tangible needs, whatever they are, but then we want to draw you in and we want to point you to the thing that we all need the most, which is Jesus. And so, and to me, that one house, we'll talk about this, but it has two aspects to it. It's both we're working on our house, where we're loving each other well, right? So we're serving each other, and one of the greatest draws and attractions of the gospel is when God's people love each other well and care for each other well. So we're doing that. We're creating our environment at our house, but then we're also going out and we're telling people about that one house, and we're inviting them to come. So it's both of those things, I think, at the same time. So I think it makes so much sense. It's concise, it's clear, it's compelling. So that's our vision.
All right. So you kind of went into the question 3, I guess, about how you were led to that one house vision. I guess, do you have anything else to expand on? Like what does that mean to you at like a personal level, not as like a church leader, but like what does that mean? I guess, what does creating that one house mean to you at a personal level for the people around us?
It means a lot to me because I was candidating when everything was up in the air, when Pastor Nate was leaving, transitioning out, and our future was up in the air. And so it comes out of this like really grassroots, this really like uncertain place, which was both made me feel anxious, but also made me feel like so secure in God's love. I just hearing from God so clearly, not an audible voice, but just feeling so confident in where he was leading Joe and me. And so it's very personal to me, and it's something creative. You know this because you create things virtually every day, and you have a creative spirit to you, just such a strong creative spirit. But to create something with another person, I don't mean like in isolation, but it doesn't ultimately matter because it came from me praying and searching and leaning in and candidating and wrestling and having conversations with people, you know. And so it means a lot to me. It also is a good fit to the kind of Christian that I want to believe and believe that I am. That would be more intentional, evangelistic, you know, that kind of thing. Because the whole point of that one house is we're here to reflect Jesus, and there's a lost world out there. There are people out there. There are people in our community that don't know Jesus, the sweet love of Jesus, and we want to go, and we want to form relationships with them, and then we want to invite them. We want to invite them to get to know Jesus. So very personal. I think it fits. We'll talk about this too, but it fits our ministry structures, and it's because it's a vision, it's bigger picture, and so every ministry should ask the question, how does this make us become more of that one house? Whether that's from nursery to 412 to our hygiene pantry to our creative arts group and team led by you, you know, and I think it does. I think it really fits. So all those things.
Yeah.
What about you? What's it mean to you?
Oh, I was thinking about that question. I knew if I asked you that question, you were going to ask me that question. I think it's an interesting question for me because at this point, both of us have kind of been here for so long and seen how the tides have kind of shifted over the years, if that makes sense. But I can say that, like, that one house, it means a lot to me because that's what this place has always been, no matter what was maybe going on in my life, for one, apart from this place, but like going on in the church, no matter what, like, storms were happening within the church, there were always people, and there was always like places that I felt safe because of the relationships I had built here. You know, when I started coming to then SBC in 2003 or whatever, how do I put this? Was not really invested in my faith, you know, and then you have people like Steve and Chris and Nicole and you and Brent and Carmen and all them people. Just, they were people that made it okay to be like, I have a lot of doubts. You know, I'm much more of a, I think, a scientific thinker than a lot of people. It's weird. Science brain, art brain, and and they made it, they gave me the space to struggle with what do I actually believe without putting the pressure on me to say, you have to end up believing this.
Right. Yep.
You know?
I think that's important to both of us.
Oh, yeah.
You personally experienced it here,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's very important to me too that, you know, we can nuance this and say, following Jesus, when you actually surrender your life to him, you could say it's anything but safe, you know, but the precursor to that, the lead up to that, the safety I need to feel to even know what I think, to even explore, is really important. It's really important to not treat non-Christians like Christians, or to not treat new believers like they're seasoned believers. You know, it's really important not to put people in categories for the sake of categorizing them, but to know where they are in the continuum, and to know that it's going to sound different and it needs to be a little bit different. We're all saved by the blood of Christ. We all are desperate for Jesus. We all have to have him in order to truly live, both now and in eternity, you know. But it's true that following Jesus is not a safe exercise.
No, in fact, if you are following Jesus in the way that we maybe claim that you should, it would lead you into places that are, I mean, obviously we're not talking about physically safe, but like, you're going to take risks, and risks are inherently unsafe.
So we need to be able to say both those things, right? And so if we're having a nuanced conversation like the podcast gives us, and messages too can, but podcast gives us room to do, you know, it's just recognizing that there could be people here that are more seasoned believers, but they have a ton of hurt in their lives, maybe from churches, maybe from Christians in leadership, not throwing stones, not label, you know, I'm just saying you want to recognize where somebody is coming from. You want to be able to say, no matter where you're coming from, we want you here.
Yeah. The safety of that one house gives them space to heal and recognize that wherever the hurt came from, it is not everything. It is not necessarily everyone, and I don't want to sound, too much, oh, not all men sort of thing. But
to be a place where that family heals,
yeah,
I take incredible pride in that. So it's going to look maybe a little bit different for them. At the same time, yes, I have surrendered my life to Jesus. I am still a sinner. I continue to sin, but it is not safe. It is, Jesus says, in this world you will have trouble. And there's all sorts of, once you surrender, you have to lean into and accept, it's a broken world anyway, right?
Yeah.
So bad things are going to happen,
Well,
but there's a very specific, I am following Jesus and I'm going to take I'm going to accept any of the consequences that come from that.
yeah. Would you say that based on the way that surrender pushes you into taking risks for Jesus and all that, would you say that there comes a point in that journey where the safety is not enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think safety is something that you can ultimately hide behind and use as an excuse. I just think it's a reality of what we're trying to communicate, that we have believers at Sparta Center Church that gather, primarily believers, but we always have people that don't know Jesus, people that have been hurt by Christians, people that are going through any kinds of things. We always have them in mind, always. It's never a segmented, we're not a club, right? We're not trying to meet and then create really high benchmarks or try to profit off of them in that way or whatever it is, or to be exclusive, but we do have a foundation and we are centered on Christ. So we are meeting in Jesus' name, which means we are doing things like communions and baptisms and messages, and we can't cater to so much to what a person that doesn't know Jesus wants just to get them in the door. But we do have them in mind all the time. That one house always is working on itself and simultaneously being sent out into neighborhoods and families and workplaces and whatever gatherings. And you always are, if you know Jesus, if you've surrendered your life to Jesus, you are a witness, you are an ambassador, you are a representative, you are to go out, and hopefully you want to. Hopefully that's one of your greatest desires.
And I do think it does change the narrative if you are emerging from the safety or however you want to say it. If you're going out and you know that there is something behind you that can catch you, you're not going to, if you get hurt in taking those risks, there's a place where you can go to heal again, and that will...
It would have... that's a good question you asked me a few minutes ago, because it would have... I think about that one house experience that I had outside of this church, my two really good friends, Ryan and Jason. I said that when I was vision casting toward the end of 2024. I think that if it was just about safety, there was a place where I needed to feel safe and valued and accepted and to be able to exhale, loved, but it would have collapsed on itself if it just stopped there. There was a formational aspect to, this is giving me fuel and this is giving me confidence to really lean into the next chapter of my life. And if that just kind of stalled and I just stayed there and never, I do think any good thing can become a negative thing, but that's not minimizing what that was for me at that time. It was absolutely necessary that I was, in a way, accepted as is, valued, had a voice, in these two spaces. It was so important for me to be able to work things out from that safe vantage point. But you're right, it didn't stop there. That same God that created that space and invited me to those spaces and provided those is the same God that asked me to go out and to keep moving and to risk, to take incredible risks, I think. I guess physically at times, definitely spiritually, emotionally. We can talk about that relationally, it definitely, and it's all of that stuff, but that one house is a perfect fit still because it encompasses all of that. Because again, we are gathered together and we are working on us and we are creating an environment. We're loving each other well, and we're being sent out and we're inviting people. I got a space. There's a place for you that I want to invite you to. Yeah, yes, I want to talk to you about Jesus. I don't need Sparta Center Church to have every conversation. This isn't about like, well, let me just lead you to the pastoral staff. Like you can, but it's you can witness, and then also in the conversation, you have that one house to draw them back to, and for you to come back to and go, hey, do you have any good resources? This is. It's not all about them coming here and becoming members of Sparta Center Church, although, yeah, that's awesome, but that's all of this is encompassed by that one house. This is why I think it fits and why it works so well. It encompasses all of these things. So that's why I like it.
It's not really on the sheet or the list of questions I sent you, but
I don't have it in front of me anyway, so.
What are you writing down on
These are just notes I took.
How do you, as a leader, then reckon with the fact? So we're talking about like, you're safe here to struggle with who God is in your life and what you think of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you reckon with the idea of someone going through that struggle and just deciding that it's not for them?
You have to allow for that. If you're going to be that one house by definition has to include people that come and feel the freedom and license to leave and not come back, or the freedom and the license to not bite down on this thing and not give their all and not surrender. By definition, it has to include that, because if it doesn't, it's not that one house anymore. Not the way that you or I would define that one house.
Yeah.
Right. It might be a house, but it's not that one house. It's a certain kind of house that I think would maybe be, I don't know, that would be legalistic or mismanaged, or there's all sorts of dynamics that I can think of.
One of those things where it would be like the facade of this is nice, but
yeah,
what are we actually pushing?
You have to bite down. You have to give of your time, talent, treasures, and touch. And if you don't, you're kind of going to be shamed. Of course, we can't force you to stay, but I don't. They're just there's a lot of emotions. I don't want to believe this, and I don't want to talk like this, but we the way that we have conversations, they're good conversations that need to happen. But we talk about like our finances, and we talk about like our numbers. You can get really far down that path. And you can lose focus in talking about finances and numbers and where are the wins and where are the benchmarks, and these things are all important. But if you're not careful, you can lose that essence of but this is where I think that vision draws us back. Yes, numbers are important. Yes, finances are important. But is this ministry, are the collective ministries moving closer to becoming that one house? Did they this past year? What are the measurables in that? Again, we're using measurables, but we just got to be careful because we can get lost too. The core leadership can get lost in the pressures of the finances, or finances are important, but we have to challenge ourselves to, when we veer off track, to course correct, toward that vision, that one house of, are we becoming more like it or not, and why? And that's why I think the vision fits and it makes sense.
All right. Next question. I guess not just why, but do you feel, and why, that one house is a natural next step for SEC from where we were transitioning out of Nate's leadership?
I think I don't know how to. So when you say you experienced us as that one house, I agree with you. I think we were not perfect for you, but I do think we were also like exactly what you needed at that time of your life, and through all the stages, and you kind of morphed and transitioned from, you were somebody who just were receiving something from us, to then you became somebody who was receiving, but also like giving of your talents, to us, which you still obviously do, and even more so today, but I think we were, in ways we were. It's not that we weren't. It's just that we didn't have that clear of a vision for that. We had another vision. We had other, I love a lot of what Nate did. You're not saying this, but it's not a knock on what we didn't do, or
Yeah.
we were so.
I was trying very hard to word this in a way that
Yeah.
wasn't going to be like,
It's not.
our past is worthless.
It's not.
'cause
You
it's not.
you just said it 10 minutes ago. We were that one house to you before we were called that one house. You know, and so half of this conversation or more is just calling out and creating language and visuals around what you already are doing. But to just say that that's all it is I think very short-sighted, because I think a really healthy vision both expresses and articulates what you're already doing while simultaneously calling you forward. Anytime somebody, I can use the word like vision or values. I use it in counseling one-on-one and with groups too. Anytime that I meet with somebody and they say, these are my values, these are like deep-seated things, right? And so we flesh them out and we talk about them. Like, a value is something that you're never going to fully be able to grasp and hold on to. It's always, I'm not saying it's always out of your reach, but it always makes you lean forward and be driving forward towards something that you are, but you're also not fully yet. You know, and I think that's where vision comes in handy, because the vision is something that it recognizes we already are doing these things.
It gives you a vernacular for
It calls us forward. It makes us better. It keeps us focused. It makes us more of that one house and less likely to, even though it's possible, less likely to do things that are outside of the vision. You know, it's doing things on purpose. It's doing things with a vision.
Yeah. So like, just to kind of marry the two, because that's the other big thing that I remember Nate doing before he left, besides like, you know, the whole name change thing.
Yep.
Developing the pathways is almost like, if you consider it in the context of that one house, the spiritual pathways that we do, was it connect, grow,
serve, lead. He set the groundwork for that.
Yeah.
We have taken it collectively as a leadership. We've taken those terms and just his heartbeat of that, and we've turned that into an actual living, breathing team that is responsible for gently and lovingly but intentionally guiding somebody from when they first get here to what's your next step, you know, how do you grow here and what are your opportunities to do that.
Remember when there were those were just what's your what was it? What's your next step meetings, and we didn't have a vernacular. I don't want to understate how important I think having a vernacular to an idea is.
Right. Measurables, right? You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if it's not, I mean, because, you know, becoming that one house is not
a
necessarily
measurable, no.
a measurable, but
things fill in underneath of that.
Yeah.
It casts like an umbrella where now you're starting to put pieces, because I have this idea, but how does it serve this? If you believe in the umbrella idea, that's great. You have this meta narrative, so now you can start having practical, measurable conversations, and then you can keep asking. You're always going up and down. You're always going in the helicopter, then you're going to the ground. You're going, okay, helicopter view, that one house, this is how it serves us. Okay, now we're on the ground. Okay, with this ministry, this measurable, does that serve what we already have said we believe in? Yes. Then let's figure out a way to try to do it. Does it, is there a better idea? Oh, you know what? This idea better serves the umbrella idea. Okay, well, we're taking that one out and then we're replacing it with what better serves it. And these can be tweaks. This don't have to be these grandiose ideas of like these 180s of like, wow, we're going this way and we need to go that way. You know, a lot of the conversations are just refining a ministry, you know, bringing clarity to it. I think that's what's happened with Laura and the Pathways team of just trying to create measurables and clarity. I think it serves that one house well, though, because I do think there's a gap between when somebody comes to our church and somebody gets involved and then grows because they're involved and they're invested. There's still a gap between those two things.
It's almost like the pathways are a map through and or into the house.
A map and also a person holding the map, right? A personal touch. So they're not just handing it to them, but they're like, let's sit down and look at this together. You know, and then this newer, let's say it's a newer family, and they go, oh, that, you know, that makes so much more sense. And so we're not ready to like teach a class right now, but you've laid this all out really well. And so now we come back to, okay, what's your next step? You know, there's a ladies' Bible study, you know, to the woman. There's to a spouse. There's a ladies' Bible study that's starting February 2nd. There's a men's activity January 31st. There's a whatever there is. There are baptisms happening March 22nd. There's there's a membership class that we're forming right now. If you want to get your name, you don't have to do that. There's no pressure to like do that in that moment. It's just more of like, what does this look like to go from here to here? Oh, my son's interested in music. Well, you get them in touch with somebody from the praise team, like Tori, obviously, and you have a conversation about that. So
Yeah.
all of that.
So speaking of the individual ministries, what does it mean for our individual ministries to operate inside of that one house, as well as individually being that? Like I see there's the ministries themselves need to be that one house for people, but they also need to operate within that one house.
Right.
How is that different and the same?
Yep. I think it's a lot of the same, but I think it's got its own, each ministry has its own feel to it, its own vibe, right? It's got its own thing that it's trying to accomplish. So like with creative arts, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things you guys are trying to do through visuals, video, media, is you are trying to enhance. So if there are people with powerful testimonies, you're trying to get them to share their testimonies and then take it out to different media platforms and expose people to. So your particular job is to have the ability to take the testimony and make it sing, right? And to dress it up. Not that it needs to be dressed up like it's not powerful on its own, but you know what I mean. Creative arts, right? That's what you're doing. You're taking an idea and you're dressing it up into a theme with a visual, which could be a stationary visual, or it could be a visual that lives and breathes and is 40 seconds long or a minute and a half long of an actual video. And it's attached to the person's testimony. Whereas another team's job is to sit with a person and help them craft their testimony and telling them how the gospel fits into their testimony, fits into the gospel story. And thereby they either become a Christian or they really are able to take a definitive step of faith, And so for that team or that person, it's more of that. And we're all hopefully rowing in the same direction. It's not like you're looking at this team and going, what are they doing sitting down and talking with this person about their testimony? And it's not like they're looking at you going, why is Jake and his team wasting their time with all this visual stuff? It's all serving the same thing. We're rowing in the same direction, right? We're trying to enhance and we're trying to not promote, but yeah, I guess we are promoting, but we're trying to provide different avenues whereby people take in these powerful stories. You're giving really good exposure to it and you're making it look nice and sound nice and good and compelling. Whereas this person on this team is just going, I've just got the information down. I'm working with the person. I want to give them a little encouragement because maybe they're scared to death to go behind a microphone or whatever. And it's not all about being behind a microphone, but it's, I just think that's where all of the teams are. We're just rowing in the same direction. If we can capture that, I really think that's happening more times than not. I do think there are times where maybe one ministry looks at the other ministry. It's not a war, but it might just be like, I don't know. I don't know about this ministry. Or I don't know. I'm not able to articulate that. Or maybe in my own ministry, maybe you lose a little focus, or maybe Pastor Ben or the leadership team hasn't helped you enough to, as a ministry leader or team, to go, this is who we are and this is why we do what we do. This is a mission and vision statements and stuff like that. And we need to do more work on that. But if you're asking how one serves the other and how your own creative team kind of has its own mini vision underneath the vision of that one house, absolutely. If you're starting to do other things outside of the creative arts lane, I think that we have to talk about that, because if we decide that's outside the lane, then we have to course correct, so that you focus on the creative arts stuff, and vice versa, And I think there's more to learn from each other. I really do. I think there's more communication from ministry leader to ministry leader, and potentially me gathering the ministry leaders together and really talking, I think would be good.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I want to do a series on this podcast where it's let's just talk about what each ministry does. Now, will
Yes.
that fill an entire hour? It might not.
That's okay.
I don't think the creative arts team could fill an entire hour of podcast talking about that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
You're probably never going to set up shop at one of our hygiene pantries, I'm not saying you the person can't.
I mean,
you the person can give hygiene products, and you can absolutely be a part of our hygiene. If we're talking about though our core team, you're probably not going to, unless there's some idea I'm not thinking of where you're catching somebody that wants to do something with their testimony and something like that.
That's what I have Neil do as a go to. I don't know that he's gone to many like hygiene pantry or
you could do that. You could do the not what does that one house mean to you there, but you could do what does the hygiene pantry mean to you and how does that help your family?
Didn't they used to make food at the hygiene pantry? Do they still do that?
Yeah, they have food most times. They have like different things too, like crafts sometimes, and their focus is to bring dignity, humanity, care beyond just here, sign your name, sit over there, go through our pantry, take 10 products, have a nice day.
Yeah.
It's more of like a humanizing, like, we are so glad that you're here. We are not happy that you're in the situation that you're in, but this is why we exist as a hygiene pantry team and as a pantry. This is why we implore people to give of their resources, and we purchase what we do, and we invite people, and we connect with North Kent Connect to create lists, because we want you here, and we want you to leave feeling like, wow, I almost feel like loved. I feel seen. Mm-hmm. I feel like I wasn't a bother. I feel like I didn't have to put my head down in shame as I was like putting items into my bag. I didn't feel like I was treated like a number, Yeah,
it's interesting. I think because, I've always been a part of a church my entire life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting because it's sometimes I think it's hard to walk into a building like this one specifically,
a big one,
and then go because like you can identify them. I don't want to rank ministries, but like you can identify like, oh, the worship ministry has a high value here because they're very visible, they're very this, that, or the other thing. So does the youth group.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a new person, it can be hard to kind of get past that. I want to be a part of that one because it's seen, and get to the where am I going to be not the most useful. That's not where am I going to fit?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when the loud ones are.
I think there's different avenues to that one house, right? There's multiple avenues that are happening at the same time. You have your relationships. I'm not saying your creative arts team is first and foremost an evangelistic outreach team. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you have your touch points and you have your connections and you're doing your thing, and somebody very well might come to Sparta Baptist through you, through a relationship with you, and through a desire and a passion for creative arts. I don't want to start naming names because I'll never stop, and then I'll definitely leave people out like I'm doing like I won an award or something, like those ceremonies where they always leave some down. So I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you, and I think you know this, that there are people that because they're connected to you and the creative arts team, they feel more like this is their church.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an avenue, but that's not the only one. If they loved that part, but they hated other parts, I mean, I don't know if, one feeds the other, where it's like, and then over here, they're involved here, and they became a part of a small group. But the reason they even thought about becoming a part of a small group is because they felt valued by the creative arts director, and they felt a way that they could use their passion, and that just helps them go, okay, I think it's here. And then we do a membership thing, and then they become members, and it's like, where did that start? There's no ranking. There's no like, well, it was here, and then it was here. Combination of different avenues and touch points, but you're one of them. You're a big part of it, and that's huge.
I was more just saying that it, like if you're JQ someone off the street and this ministry over here is super loud and super big, and
Yeah.
obviously have some. It can feel daunting, and it can also sort of sometimes, speaking from experience,
Everybody's different.
make you feel like you're not good enough.
There are people that are at this church because Tori and these, worship team is very out there, right? It's very visible, and it could be super intimidating, like to people. But like a few people I can think of call this church home, and I would say first and foremost because Tori invited them in to use their musical talents first.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't oh, you're hurting and you don't like the big crowds, and I want to be like she knew the people. And so it was pretty quick of like, I'm going to get you signed up. You're on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
And so they were on the team like really soon. They were up front and visible like really quickly. And it's exactly what they needed. Because if she didn't do that, they might have looked somewhere else.
Yep.
So it's different for everybody. Because you're right. Too much, too fast, too big, too loud, too quickly. It's like to scare people away.
And to be clear, I love all the ministries here. I'm just using worship as an example
good.
because it's the most visible one.
I agree. It's a very visible one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're right. I mean, that can really scare people, if this is like too much, too fast, and you're right. Our building is big. And
our building is scary.
Yep. And there are people that come in the doors or think about it. They just don't have the vernacular for this stuff. And so again, it's important for us to clarify who we are and believe in who we are and become well versed in it so that we can become experts. You don't have to teach somebody the first time you meet them. Let me tell you all about that one house. I'm not saying that, but it's really important because there are people that just don't know. They don't know where to go in a building. They don't know how to act. They don't know what they're going to hear. They don't know what they're supposed to do. Which is convicting me right now because right now it's making me think, should 3 to 5 minutes every Sunday be a little bit more designated toward, let's just back up for a second,
Could you give it 3 to 5 minutes? Do you
probably,
have that time?
Probably not in what we're currently doing. I'm just saying it convicts me a bit to just be as clear as we can.
I wonder...
Like, all I mean is like maybe 30 seconds of just like...
No. I was thinking a different thing. I wonder if it would be helpful to, in the Pathways material, because we need to go, you and I need to go through that and figure out like what we still want to be there and what needs to be updated, because certainly something needs to be updated. It's been 4 or 5 years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, all I meant was like 30 seconds of like, we're going to sing, you're going to hear preaching, you can stand or not stand with us. You don't have to raise your hand. Your kids are going to, that you already signed in, are going to be dismissed in about 20 minutes. We will have leaders that are in the hallway that are guiding them up.
I actually do think that would be helpful.
There are these,
or if we had ushers that were doing that, or
the greeting team is intentional. I'm not saying that's not happening. I'm convicting myself as I'm talking and going just to make doubly sure. It's like, you're not going to have to. You're not going to have to. You might feel pressure, but you don't have to stand. You don't have to raise your hand. You don't. You can get up and go to the bathroom. You're not embarrassing yourself. You're not. You can.
I wonder if. So, this is completely aside the point, and now it's kind of. Now it's just kind of two staff members talking to each other. I wonder if it would be as helpful, because we have a pamphlet in the Pathways that's kind of a breakdown of every ministry that we have. I wonder if it would be helpful to reorient that and give it all a visual give each individual one like a visual identity, like a logo of some kind, and then just have like a one sentence, this is what this is.
Yeah.
This is what this is, and this is where this is.
I'm interested in that. Yep.
Anyway, back to the original thought.
Good questions.
So what shifts and or growth have you seen in the people and the ministries in this past year that get you the most excited and confident that one house is the right direction? Caveat, you can't say ministry because you've said that a couple of times, and I want to hear.
The thing that gets me
more.
excited is I have seen. I would say one of the things would be buy-in from more people.
Okay.
So more people that are involved, that are using their talents and their passions. That's a huge marker of success to me, is that it's not static, and it's an invitation. It's a perpetual invitation. No one person is ever going to do everything that you do in your position. You're a staff member. However, over the past years, we have stopped way too short, and the gap has actually been too big between staff members and lay people. In my idea, we want there to be, we want it to matter that you're staff, right? That it's never going to be like this and it's never going to be like this, but we want to shrink that gap, because of like our job fairs. We want to shrink the gap because we want more involvement. We want more buy-in. We want more people using their gifts, because when they do, I think God is honored. I think we become more of that one house. When you get buy-in, you get everything. Now you actually have the people and they're working with you, and we're a family. Now we're more like at the same level where we're trying to accomplish something, for the kingdom of God. So,
and if it validates you, I see that too. Like, just in the way that we have developed all the different teams that are happening now.
Right.
I think that it makes people feel like that's not to say that, again, we love Nate, not saying anything. It's just a different approachability level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think that having, like a preaching team like what we have, and just not having staff come up with it in a vacuum, makes the congregation able to feel more connected to it somehow.
Yep. And I understand that that's a shift, right? It's a shift away from the traditional. And this was all accomplished while I was candidating. There were really good questions, which is how little can you preach and still feel confident in your job? Like, I can't just stay back. Like, I have to be the primary communicator up there. But that's my point. I'm not saying this. I'm saying I just want to shrink that gap to where I'm preaching a little bit less to leave room for the team, gifted, passionate people to preach more.
Well, and it's also not like you're letting. Well, I guess you are.
There's a criteria for sure.
Yeah, there's a criteria.
You don't just sign up and do it. This is not. This all depends on the ministry, right? So that's why I said every ministry is different, and I'm saying ministry again, and you told me not to. But I'm using an example to say, if you want to sign up tomorrow to do an outreach event, and that I think would give you really good exposure into like who we are, my answer is probably going to be yes. You don't sign up to preach.
Well,
I mean, we have to guard the word too. We can't just we preach it and teach it, but we also have to guard it.
Yeah, and I also feel like part of one of the facets of being that one house is, even if someone were to say, "Hey, I'm interested in speaking from up front," it's not an outright no. It's a let's discuss this.
And that's
I actually don't think I've ever heard you tell someone outright no.
Yeah, that's a pretty sacrosanct thing, though, too. Like preaching. It's not. Most of our ministries, there's always leadership, and so you can't just sign up and become a leader. There's always a process.
Yeah.
The preaching team would be on the upper edge of
I'm talking more about the family prayer, or who we let get up there to talk us through communion. It's never a no when someone wants to do that. It's a let's have a discussion about what you're going to say.
Yep. That's right. That's good. So again, and just to reiterate, I'm not saying we do a 180. I'm just saying, because you're right. I mean, a lot of who I am is because of Nate. This is not a brand new thing. This is just taking a gap and going, I just want to shrink it more, and I want to formalize it more, and I want to create more teams, and I want to do it because it serves that one house. Because when that one house is functioning the way I see it that it needs to function, there is more buy-in, and people are that has to be an increasing number. There has to be more people that are bought into it. It's not just for the higher ups to do the job and for the other people just to come and go and because then we're training people to be consumers. And I'm not saying all consumption is bad. I like food just like anybody. Consuming can be really, really good, but consumerism, when you attach the ISM to it, that's where it becomes incredibly dangerous. And that's the natural bent toward our culture. And we're creating, can we say, counterculture? we're still for our culture. We're not we're not against our culture, but we are counterculture enough to say that one house is not consumeristic, not primarily. You're here to consume, we're here for you, want to meet your needs, but the goal is for you also to invest in this church, to use your passion and gifts. It's so pro New Testament, but practically when you do that, you are just so bought in. You're so bought in, and you're so much more likely to like grow in relationships and to stay around and to experience everything that the New Testament authors have in mind when they talk about the church, the assembly, So, yeah, good questions.
Well, we're at one of the last ones.
Yep.
So then, with all of what we've talked about in mind, I know it's a lot. In 2026, how do we lean further into being that one house, or into becoming that one house? What's the next step for us in that, I guess, never-ending process?
Yep.
The pursuit of that.
Yep. I think so. Small picture, it's the ministries. Sorry, it's the ministries having goals that really do encompass. So, like, if Pathways, it's like, how do we grow our Pathways leadership team? How do we become more effective and intentional at coming alongside people? Are we doing too much? Are we not doing enough? What are the measurables that are telling us what goals to set this year to become more of that one house? And that the Pathways team is a good example, because by definition, a Pathways team member can't come on too strong, but also has to be intentional enough for it to make a difference. You can always say no to a Pathways team member, to a pastor, to a creative arts director. You can always say no to an invitation, but that's where the sweet spot is of becoming more of that one house, is because we just said 10 minutes ago, you have to have the right of refusal. And you don't want to be bombarded the first day you come through the doors with, this is everything that we are, and sign up for 5 things, and even if that's well-intentioned, And so that each ministry does have to come up with like goals and sub-goals and measurables of, and it's got to serve that team. That team has to believe this better serves becoming that one house. Big picture, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Do you have an answer when you asked it of big picture, how we do it?
Big picture, what's the next step in becoming that one house?
Yeah. Is there a way to talk about that big picture? I'm breaking it down first, but I mean, is it just more of like making sure we continue to talk about it? You know?
I mean, the more you can make it known that is the intention, the better off you're going to be. I mean,
if I'm getting practical again, but I want more measurables of. I don't have a number because I don't want it to be that much of a measurable. But if you're asking me, so we had 23, I think, baptisms this past year. That's incredible. I want more evidences of practical conversations that are happening outside of our walls, in workplaces and in neighborhoods and in friendships and in other groups and in homes, families, where there are more practical conversations happening about, let me listen to your story, but now let me share with you how Jesus has changed my life, and let me invite you into relationship with him, to Sparta Center Church, to that one house. I want more evidences that that's happening. I would love to see more testimonies, because our people are wonderful and they have dynamic testimonies. I would want to see more of those showcased in 2026. So I think you're pushing me in a good way right now to kind of break this down. Those would be a few ways where I would say we're getting closer. So, yeah, I could go on, but
I think, well, yeah, I could go on forever. I think that if we can get people using the vernacular of that, like it's almost like breathing, you know, like it won't feel like a slogan.
It's good. I agree.
I think that's probably one way in which, because if it's the more natural it becomes to us as people that come here normally, the more natural it's going to feel to someone new coming in.
Yep. That's good.
And just the last thing is, do you have any final thoughts?
I was very encouraged by the annual meeting, by our budget conversations. I like that we have a church that is, our leadership team tries to be transparent, and I think our people overall respond well to it. And if you are not one of our core people, not meaning you're lesser in value, but if you are just newer, you're not a member, please talk to me if you're interested in becoming a member. Talk to me if you felt even alienated at all by the annual meeting process, just because some of it's a little businessy, But I think overall it was a really net positive because we're transparent, and we also, the point is of the annual meeting is that you're invited. We do need you.
Mm-hmm. That's why I've always felt like annual meeting is, I don't like the name of it.
Okay. Well, you are number one on my list of the person that is going to be able to change it.
Oh,
So
yay.
there are other people I want their input, but you are the first one that I want you to figure out what is a better fit. Family business, but it's still business. Annual meeting, annual family meeting, it's still annual.
That's why I've always thought it should be a family business celebration, because it's not a meeting. There's very rarely do we not pass a budget, at least in the time I've been here.
Yeah. By the time we get to the congregation, it's more of like trying to create time and space for good feedback.
Yeah,
and we need to do better at that, honestly.
And so really, it's way more of a celebration than it is a meeting, isn't it? It's kind of like
I like to think so.
It's kind of like a business Horizon Awards.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you. I'm excited about this year. I genuinely am. There's a lot of good things happening. So proud to be your, and I mean you, Jared, and everybody we're talking to. Proud to be your pastor.
Mentioned you.
Yeah, I am. Proud to be his pastor.
All right. Well, that's our discussion on how SEC is that one house. We'll be back next week with another sermon breakdown. We'll be breaking down Josh's sermon next week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's Sunday.
Yeah, so mine was getting into the ark and what happens if you don't. And I think his is going to be more
exiting.
Now it's time to exit the ark.
Okay.
So I look forward to that.
But keep on.
Pillow Josh.
Good job, Pillow Josh. We love your input. Anyway, we'll be back at you. One of the things I just in the idea of vision is one of the things that I want to do is tell more stories. Obviously, because I think I've said that a few times on this podcast. One of the things that will be coming soon, hopefully, is I want to have someone in the congregation who came back because of that one house idea, and I want their reactions to it.
They used to go here, left, and then came back?
I am not entirely clear on that part of the story.
Okay.
But I know that that is one thing that anchors them here. So,
okay. Good.
Keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure when that is. I have to discuss that with them. If you want to tell your story on this podcast, I would love to have you. The Pillow Josh and Real Ben.
Will the pillow move for the person?
I mean, if they want to sit on it, because it's kind of an uncomfy chair. Isn't that right, Jared? Anyway, if you want to tell your story on this podcast, just, hit me up. I am always open to pretty much any idea that comes my way. Other than that, if you have any feedback on, not really feedback, but questions on the sermons, or something you would like addressed on the podcast, we have these wonderful cards that, hey, look, it's That One House. Connect with us at That One House. They're in the backs of all the pews. You don't have to put your name or anything on it unless you want to. On this podcast, if you ask a question via this method, we'll never use your name. It's completely anonymous. Other than that, we'll see you Sunday to start part 3 of the... I have to make that title card.
Genesis trilogy.
Forgot totally about that. We're going to conclude our Genesis trilogy.
This reminded you. That's a good thing.
All right. We'll see you Sunday.